CFL. Last week in Calgary, the clock runs out on the Hamilton Tiger Cats, but not according to head coach Al Bruno.
Last week in Calgary, we had 1 second left on that clock when Staple went out of bounds, and we had time for one more play, and it was taken away from us. BC comes in, which is a tough team to beat anywhere, really. The kids are up for it. They're going to take it like they did last year in the Grey Cup game, and you're going to see a bruising football game against BC, and hopefully we can win it.
You can see for yourself what happened last week. Ken Hobart fires to Steve Stapler, who gets out of bounds to set up the game-winning field goal attempt. But the officials rule time had expired. The 2-point loss hurts Hamilton in the standings. With the record falling to 1-3, the defending Eastern champions remain 2 points behind Toronto and Ottawa, tied with the Alouettes for third. And life doesn't get any easier tonight. The Tiger Cats play host to the defending champion BC Lions. Live from Iverwin Stadium in Hamilton, this is CTV's Friday Night Football.
We have been able to execute the big play seemingly at the end of the ball games that we have won. And that's due in part to, I guess, experience and a mature ball club. But we would really like to be ahead by the time the fourth quarter rolls around, because it's sometimes frustrating because we've had a lot of penalties and we've had some miscues that have stopped drives, and consequently we haven't been getting the points that we needed earlier in the ball game. So hopefully this game or any other ball games, we would like to be ahead in the fourth quarter so we can kind of coach it.
Football is very much a team game, and the Lions gave graphic evidence of that last week. First, the defense does its job. They forced a turnover at the Montreal 13 late in the fourth quarter. Walter Ballard recovers the football. And on the very next play, the offense does its job. With the game tied at 20, Roy DeWalt goes upstairs to Jan Currency, the game-winning touchdown under the dome at BC Place. The victory keeps the Lions lockstep, 2 points behind the unbeaten Western-leading Edmonton Eskimos. And with a record of 3-1, BC has a 2-point lead on everybody else in their division: Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, and Calgary. Tonight, it's the rematch as the two teams that contested Grey Cup 85 meet for the first time in 86. It has been hot and humid the past few days in southern Ontario. It remains hot and humid tonight in Hamilton, just a breath of air. It is going to be sticky tonight. You might think especially sticky for the underdog Tiger Cats until you think back to 2 weeks ago when they had another Western powerhouse here at Iverwin, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Tabby defense came up real big. They won their only game so far this season. But there are lots of reasons to like BC tonight. And for more on that, let's go to Pat Marsden and Leif Pedersen.
Thank you, Dan. Hello again, everybody. Let me suggest this to you, Leif. If any of the players have ever performed in a sauna bath, they're going to have a definite advantage because, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous here tonight. Nevertheless, let's talk about those Hamilton Ticats, the only team in the Eastern Conference that has knocked off a Western opposition.
That's true, Pat. But, you know, last year they were so happy with Ken Hobart to come in and help their offense because at that point they had none. He ran around, made a few things happen, but this year they want him to be a true passer. He really hasn't panned out that way. Only a 45% completion percentage, just not good enough. So if I was Ken, you've got to get Rocky DiPietro involved in the offense. He's a former Shenley winner, reliable, dependable, and the kind of guy that can really help you out, make Rocky have the best game of the season so far.
Well, let's talk about the extra dimension that the BC Lions have, because they're good offensively and defensively, and then they're superior with this guy.
They've got a young guy, number 1, Darnell Clash, in his 3rd year, and every time he touches the football on a punt return, he literally has the ability to go all the way. Last week against Montreal, a new BC Lion team record in punt returns, 157 yards. He's extremely exciting.
Let me put it this way. The Hamilton Ticats are not intimidated, but they've got their work cut out for them tonight. Let's go down to Dan Matheson.
Thanks very much, Pat. One quick story right now. Al Wilson, BC center, across the field to Al Bruno before the warm-up even began tonight. He said, Al, we brought our own referees tonight. Al laughed. the Tiger Cats still have a sense of humor. This is CTV's Friday Night Football.
You know, these guys really like their beer.
Show them what we got you for your birthday, George.
Yeah, see, we got my name on it. Oh. Now, you don't think I'm just going to put any beer in here, do you? No. Miller Lite goes in here. That's right. Light tastes great, and it also tastes less filling than regular beer. Besides, this is something I've always wanted.
What's that?
My name in life.
Light beer from Miller, now available with a convenient twist cap.
Thought we were too young to think about life insurance. All we ever thought about was seeing the world.
Then our London life agent told us about a financial package called Freedom 55.
It gives us all the life insurance protection we need, and it's going to help us retire as early as age 55.
So we'll have lots of time to really see the world.
London Life believes life insurance is also for the living. Ask us about Freedom 55.
The way I see it, our life insurance is going to help us get more out of life.
Well, they're enthused here at Hamilton's Iberwin Stadium. They know that the club hasn't had a big year, but they are hoping that history will repeat at least the history that they performed 2 weeks ago when they beat their Western opponent. Our referee for tonight's game is Jake Ireland. Jake, of course, around for quite some time. He's from Simcoe, Ontario, and has been in the CFL for 7 seasons. There you look at the lineup of the under officials who will work beneath Jake Ireland tonight. And the BC Lions will kick off. Let me explain something here. The opposition has the choice of either accepting the situation at the start of the ball game or in the second half. In other words, if they think the weather may change, they can defer until the second half of the ball game, and that's what BC has done. So Jan Karinski's kickoff goes to Howard Fields. Fields only gets over the 20 to about the 22-yard line before Paul Nastasiuk is down to make the stop, number 36 for the BC Lions.
Pat, you explained the choice very well, and I think BC did want to start with their defense tonight, and for the specific reason that Ken Hobart and the entire Hamilton offense really has struggled in 1986.
Well, there's no question about it that he's a major league runner. What has to be proven is, can Ken Hobart throw the ball from the quarterback position well enough to win? The handoff goes to Walter Bender, and number 34 is drilled by Tyrone Cruz, the middle linebacker, number 91, as he gets back to the line of scrimmage and falls forward for about a half a yard. There's the way Hamilton lines up. Hobart is the quarterback. Jed Tommy, the son of one of the famous Tommies in Ottawa, is in that backfield along with Walter Bender, and a veteran receiving corps. Wayne Lee has moved into a starting position in the last couple of games. Hobart's pass intended for Lee was behind him, and so if the strategy by BC was to contain Hobart in the first series, they have certainly done that effectively.
Well, I think they knew, too, that Bernie Ruoff is really not having the greatest of seasons punting so far. That hand injury, he still says, affects his drop every time he goes to kick the football. So excellent strategy, I think, so far on the part of Don Matthews.
Bernie averaging 41.6 yards on the season in punting. That is well below his career record of more than 45. Darnell Clash is the only receiver back for BC. And this is not a particularly good punt by Ruoff. It bounces back toward the Ticats. Clash on the dead run takes it. He's deep in Hamilton territory at the 38-yard line. And there was also a flag, likely for face masking, and if that is the case, then the BC Lions are going to start deep, deep in Hamilton territory, and that, in fact, is the call. So that's where the Lions are going to begin at the 23. Let's listen.
Major foul, face mask, Hamilton number 10. First down.
It's against Bernie Ruoff. Bernie was down there hustling, trying to recover his punt.
Bernie, don't hurt that hand anymore.
So Roy DeWalt fires it up to Keevan Jenkins, and look out for Keevan. He's out of bounds at the 3-yard line. Paul Bennett saved the touchdown. Another penalty marker is down, and likely another face mask.
Well, when you've got the great field position like Roy DeWalt has, it's pretty easy on your play selection, and another penalty half the distance to the goal line, and what a way to start the ball game.
Major foul, face mask, Hamilton number 27. First down.
So you heard Jake Ireland say it was a face mask call against Paul Bennett.
Yeah, they split Keevan Jenkins out wide as a wide receiver and used him on a quick screen. Good blocks, a nice break to the outside. Well, face mask at that point doesn't make much difference.
Ball is right at the 1-yard line after the penalty was marked off. DeWalt to Jenkins, touchdown, BC. Boy, they made that one look easy, didn't they? We've only played a minute and 51 seconds, and the BC Lions have jumped out in front of the Hamilton Ticats 6-0 with Louis to try the point after in just a moment. And speaking with Donnie Matthews just before the game, the head coach of the BC Lions said, I really think that we're in a position right now where we're going to start to thump some people offensively.
Pretty nice surge on the left side. Big 68 John Blaine. Keevan cuts back, has his 4th touchdown rushing of the season. And boy, when a team like BC comes into your park, you don't want to let them get off to the early lead like this.
Louis Pasaglia's point after is good, and that's what you would expect from one of the future Hall of Famers in the CFL. It is 7-0. The visiting BC Lions are out in front of Hamilton, and we'll be back in just a moment. A bad punt by Bernie Ruoff, a good return by Darnell Clash, a penalty, and that's only what they had to travel, 23 yards for the BC Lions opening touchdown with 13:09 left to play in this opening quarter. As you take a look at Walter Bender, who is back along with Howard Fields. And the kickoff, however, goes to Wayne Lee. Louis Pasaglia's kickoff was short. It was handled by Wayne Lee, who gets it over the 45 to about the 46. So the Ticats will start in much better field position.
Well, I sure like that new rule of kicking off at the 35 on all kicking situations. Just gives that offense a little bit more of a break if there's not a deep kick. This time, Ticats get to start at their own 46-yard line.
So Hobart had no success on Hamilton's first series of downs. Let's see what happens here as he starts from his 46-yard line. The handoff goes to Jed Tommy. And Tommy, who's a real battler from Guelph University, struggles for 5 yards to the 51. He was drafted first by Hamilton last year, but then he ripped his knee up in preseason and never did get to play.
Yeah, and of course he's starting tonight because their regular starting fullback Dave Graffey was injured last week in that game in Calgary, cannot play.
Funny, I was talking to the Hamilton coaches, and they tell me that Jed Tommy gets so pumped up that they have to try and quiet him down a little bit. 2nd down and 5 yards to go. Hobart's pass, looking for Rocky DiPietro, but it is knocked away by Melvin Bird, number 10. The Boo Birds felt there should have been interference. No flag is down, and I don't think any was warranted.
Well, I agree with you, Pat. Al Bruno's not too happy. Well, he's not too happy with any of the officials these last few days, but you know, the BC Lions start 5 imports in their secondary, and all 5 can really play good tight man-to-man coverage. And early we've seen their strategies. That just come right up on top of those Hamilton receivers, bump them, push them, and throw them off their game plan. And already Hobart hasn't been able to find anybody open.
So Bernie Ruoff will be punting for the 2nd time in the ball game. They've only had the ball twice. Darnell Clash moves up to his 19-yard line. And Darnell was not able to get by Mike Robinson, number 33. It was good coverage by Robinson. He was first man down. Clash figured he could get to the outside, but that was not the case, as Ruoff's 40-yard punt was only returned 2 yards. Dan?
Well, I'll tell you, this early lead is making BC quarterback Roy DeWalt very happy. He says that this Hamilton defense is not just tough and effective, but very physical. And as long as the Tiger Cats are in the game, they keep coming at you. He'd love a 21-point lead in the first quarter and save himself some wear and tear in the body.
He may get it. First down, Lions. This is Keevan Jenkins. You know, there's a penalty that should be called more and is not. Calvin Adams actually tripped him. And I wish the officials would throw a flag more often on that, because Keevan Jenkins was going to be around him when Adams threw his leg out, and no question about it, tripped him.
Well, I agree with you. Keevan comes up limping after that play, too. There's the lineup, Roy DeWalt. Keevan Jenkins, John Henry White, 9 years from Louisiana Tech, the best blocking back as far as my money goes in the CFL. Ned Armour, John Packratz, Currency Sandusky, an excellent receiving corps.
The pickup by Jenkins was 7 yards at 2nd and 3. And that time, it was John Henry White, Louisiana Tech University product, and as Leaf mentioned, around for 9 years. Name me the other halfbacks, fullbacks, running backs in the CFL who have been here that long who are playing as imports.
Not too many. You know, that was only John Henry's 5th carry of 1986. Really, primarily a blocking back for Keevan Jenkins. You know, 6 catches as well, and he can really catch that football well. Good on the screen plays.
So glad to see Jan Currency in that offensive alignment for the BC Lions. He's a guy that Donnie Matthews really likes, and everybody who knows Jan just respects him so much because he'll give you 100% regardless of the position on which you play him. But he is a much better offensive player. He knows it. So does Donnie Matthews. And, of course, he scored the winning touchdown last week against Montreal. This is Jenkins again. Zambiazzi turned him right into the arms of people like Rome Andrews, number 78, and Mike Walker, 61.
I've been extremely impressed with the play of Ben Zambiazzi so far this year. And there are his buddies on the outside, Greg Gary and Leo Esrins. But Ben, 9 years from Georgia, he really has a great feel for the football, leads the team of tackles. That's what you want from your middle linebacker, and an interception already this season to boot.
The loss was 5 yards. It's 2nd and 15 Lions back at their 27-yard line. DeWalt had a lot of time, fires, intending it for Pankratz, but it was underthrown, and Pankratz could not get down and make the catch. So the Lions will be punting for the first time this evening as Louis Passaglia comes out onto the field. I was mentioning that Louis is in all likelihood a Hall of Famer in years to come, not only for his punting, also for his field goal kicking. Interesting to note, there has not been a convert missed in the CFL in 1986. So Louis stands just outside his 10-yard line, and Paul Bennett is the only Hamilton punt returner. Good punt, hangs high. Bennett awaits at his 43. And Bennett puts his head down, drives to the 49-yard line, and that's where the Ticats will put it into play. They trail 7-0 to the BC Lions, and we'll be back in just a moment.
The BC defense has just taken the field. I just had a fast chat with Darnell Clash. He said the Lions expected the Tiger Cats to run tonight. They know Hobart cannot pass very well, very long. But aside from that, they felt that the real strength of the Tiger Cat offense was running. They expected them to come at them on the ground, first time out, first down all night long.
Well, there's something else to be said about that BC defense. They are so experienced that they're ready for anything. We'll just go through some of their years of experience in a moment. As Hobart drops straight back on first down, fires, Jed Tommy cannot make the catch. But listen to this. Keith Gooch, 4 years. Melvin Bird, 6. Andre Jones, 9. Larry Crawford, 6. Darnell Clash, 3. Those are the defensive secondary people. Glenn Jackson, 11 years. Tyrone Cruz, 7. Kevin Konar, 7. Those are all the linebackers. Parker, 7. Gray, 4. Klassen, 6. Ballard, 4. I mean, if you don't have 4 or 5 years experience, you can't get on the field with this club. No wonder they're so good. Hobart's pass, a diving catch by Tony Champion, It's a spectacular catch, but it doesn't mean a whole lot because he comes up 2 yards short of the first down.
Yeah, when you're a wide receiver, you've got 10 yards to go, especially on a rollout pattern like that with Ken Hobart going to the outside. You've got an extra amount of time to push that defensive back deep downfield, at least 6 yards past that first down marker, then come back. They find themselves about a yard short, yard and a half short.
And so Tony Champion makes his 10th catch of the season. But it's a yard and a half short of the first down.
Those guys look pretty big for defensive backs, didn't they? That was listed just then?
Yeah, I think Rick Klassen will never, ever be a defensive back.
No, he won't cover James Hood one-on-one.
Klass from his 5-yard line. What a great move he made. Well, that's why he's such an effective punt returner. Darnell Klass gets the ball to the 22-yard line, a 48-yard boot. A really terrific punt by Bernie Ruoff. But then Klass runs it back 17 yards, and he did it because of the great move that Leaf pointed out.
Well, you know what he does? He just slows down a little bit to freeze Mike Robinson. Right there, he freezes him, and now his guys get in position, pick up a block, but he's so intelligent. You know, speed means nothing if you don't set up your blocking, and he just did a super job. They've got pretty good field position.
From Wyoming University, Darnell Klass has given BC the ball at their own 22. This is Keevan Jenkins. He's a guy with some pretty slippery feet as well. He gets out over the 35 to the 36. Mark Streeter, number 20, Paul Bennett, 27, and Howard Fields, 16, were all in to make the stop.
Well, nice blocking up front, 52, Al Wilson. There's John Henry White out in front, number 20. Gets a pretty good chunk of Ben Zambiazzi and brings Keevan out in the open. They've had trouble running the football this year, and I think they'd like to get that going tonight.
Well, this is Jenkins again. He picked up 14 the last time. This time he'll pick up 4 as he runs into Andrews, 78, and Ben Zambiazzi, 31.
BC, you know, used to be much more of a balanced attack, but this year it seems to be strictly pass. Both Keevan Jenkins and John Henry White are averaging under 4 yards a carry, so boy, it takes a lot of pressure off Roy DeWalto if he can get the running in going. A little play action makes them even tougher.
He would have liked a little more than 4 yards on that first down, but now on 2nd and 6, he finds Jan Carinci wide open. A flag comes down as Carinci is to the 53-yard line. Calvin Adams, number 5, bounced him out of bounds.
And I'll bet my paycheck that Ned Armour's going to be called for a pick because he just came in and ran over Howard Fields.
And that's what it is.
He got caught right in front of the official to the short side of the field. Ned Armour just kind of drilled Howard Fields. That's why Carinci was so wide open.
Forward pass interference. PC number 8. 2nd down and 2.
Yeah, there are more subdued ways of doing it.
Well, you're going to get a great look. Yeah, like, you know, that wasn't too bad, really. You could have looked like he was trying to get downfield, but the officials are smart. They know what the kind of plays the BC Lions have, too.
Well, it wouldn't matter what the play was that time because their outstanding defensive end, Grover Covington, who has been sensational from the opening whistle of 1986, is there to grab his 5th sack of the campaign.
Well, there's no question that these guys can play defense. They lead the CFL in the sack department, and here comes big number 77 with his 5th of the year.
Grover Covington, 6 years, came to the Ticats from Johnson C. Smith University.
You know, Pat, he was a teammate of mine, and some guys go through the motions every day, but Grover was the kind of guy that would come to practice with a smile on his face, and he really had fun.
Louis Bisaglia's punt will be handled by Bennett at his 40. Tell you who did a pretty good job for the BC Lions. Paul Nastasiuk was lying on the ground, got his arms in the air, and that was enough to trip up Paul Bennett. So it's a 7-0 ball game in favor of BC. We'll be back in a moment. Hope their last name isn't Terry. Hi, Terry in Vancouver, and there are a whole lot of Lions fans here. Everybody from the East is supposed to be out in Vancouver at Expo, but it seems that a lot of BC people have taken the opportunity to come east. Needless to say, they're outnumbered here at Ivor Wynne Stadium because Ticat fans want their tabbies to start a-moving. They begin from their 40-yard line. Hobart is dropped by James Parker. grabbed them from behind and caused a 1-yard loss.
You know, Pat, I remember when Don Matthews left the Edmonton Eskimos as their defensive coordinator and took on the head coaching job at BC, one of the first things he did was make a trade and get James Parker from Edmonton because he knew he could be their leader on that defensive front four. This is his 4th sack of the season, and game in, game out, he's always there.
Actually, the loss was 5 yards, so I'll make it 2nd down and 15. There's a little screen pass to Walter Bender. And Bender gives it a good effort, but gets back to the original line of scrimmage and not much further. So Hamilton will be punting. And, of course, there's no secret to the Hamilton strategy. They want to hang in tough defensively. They know they're not going to score a whole lot of points. But if they can hang in tough in the 4th quarter, they're used to playing in this high humidity type atmosphere. The BC Lions, of course, play in the greatest stadium in North America. So they're not. And Hamilton wants to be close in the 4th quarter and then pull it out. Ooh, Bernie Ruoff just got that one away. Clash takes it at the 33. And he still manages to pick up 5 yards, even though he was hemmed in on the sidelines. Got a penalty marker back at the 50-yard line. So we'll wait and see what that does to the play.
Number 18, Keith Gooch, came pretty close to getting a hand on that football. I'm sure it caused Bernie to shank it a little bit.
Rough play was the call by referee Jake Ireland against the Hamilton Ticats.
Boy, Al Bruno's going to be wild. He was lamenting in the papers this week that he feels they're getting far too many penalties.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Hamilton, number 74. First down.
Steve Jackson, number 74, called for unnecessary roughness. Al Bruno, you can understand, he did get jobbed last week. There was a second left on the clock. This is Ned Armour. I love watching this guy with the football. Ned Armour has a big first down inside Hamilton territory at the 37-yard line. Finally forced up by Ben Zambiazzi.
Gets a great block from number 21, John Pankratz, on the right-hand side of your screen. Right there. There's 21. Gets a block right there to the outside. Then he cuts back, and you've got to have a guy that knows how to run the football, too. He made a couple of good cuts, picks up 20 yards, and here they go.
You know, the Lions are so popular in BC, and why shouldn't they be? Look how exciting they are. Look at the personalities, and they keep the club together. It's first down. Lions from the Hamilton 37. DeWalt's pass caught by Pankratz. He's got another first down. Look at the moves he puts on. Tripped up by number 5, Calvin Adams, and then pinned by Greg Gary.
Well, what a great fake Roy DeWalt made. We won't see it because it happened just before that to Keevan Jenkins, but that froze everybody, and John Pankratz just kind of snuck out in the flat. Pretty good dipsy-doodle move there for the SFU grad.
So Pankratz is inside the 15 to the 14-yard line, where it is first down BC. They lead it 7-0 and threatening to make it more. DeWalt's pass. They rule no catch by Pankratz down at the 8-yard line. John says, I've got it. The official says, forget it. It's 2nd and 10. And Donnie Matthews very, very seldom changes expression. There's a guy, I think, is entitled to all kinds of credit, and I'm not sure that he receives what he's entitled to.
Well, the official has a much better vantage point than I do to see that. It looked pretty good from up here, but of course he was right on the spot and ruled it incomplete.
3 out of 5 is Roy DeWalt in passing for 62 yards. He's got a 2nd and 10 right now. And goes to Pankratz for the touchdown. I'll tell you what was close about that. It was the question of whether or not the ball was going to get over the upright. It doesn't have to, of course, but I was wondering if it would hit the crossbar. It did not. Pankratz was momentarily distracted, but he makes the catch.
Oh, what a great catch it was, because it really is tough to keep your concentration there, but even, well, equally as good as the catch was how they picked up the safety blitz. Howard Fields coming. Brian Illebrin not only brought defensive end Rommel Andrews, he also took off Howard Fields and gave Roy DeWalt the time to throw that touchdown pass.
As Louis prepares for the automatic point after, let me just go through the experience on the offensive line. Alan Wilson, 15 years. Glenn Leonard, 10. Gerald Roper, 5. John Blaine, 10. Brian Illebrin, 9. I mean, there's experience all over the field on both sides of the ball, and that's why the BC Lions not only lead this football game 14-0, but obviously are the team to beat in the Western Conference, even though with a win tonight, they would only climb into a tie with the Edmonton Eskimos, who remain the only undefeated team in Canada. But Donnie Matthews, his crystal ball was right, as he told me before the ball game. I think we're getting ready to hammer somebody, and it looks like tonight could be the night.
Well, there's Glenn Jackson, number 37. 11 years from Simon Fraser. You know, you figure a guy that's been around for maybe 11 years might slow down a little bit. He played the best football of his career last year, and, of course, this year playing equally as well.
He may be my favorite football player in the entire CFL for the very reason that you pointed out. The guy loves the game. He reminds me of Jan Carinci. Jan is a younger guy, mind you, but Jackson just loves playing football.
Boy, speaking of Jan Carinci, when I was still playing when he was a rookie, and the first time I saw him, he hit everybody that moved. You could tell he was going to be a player.
Tony Champion with the kickoff from his 20-yard line. Well, this guy has speed, but unfortunately did not get an opportunity to show it because he was hemmed in on the sideline and finally forced out by Bruce Barnett. Let me tell you about the BC Lions offense. 102 yards so far, just 14 for Hamilton, 8 first downs for BC, none for the Ticats. 3:37 left to play in the opening quarter. Lions lead it 14-0. Mark Napierkowski, number 79, is the injured Ticat.
That former BC Lion, his first chance to play against his old teammates. The buzzard, Ray Jones, out there, and Jeff Howe to lend a little assistant. One of the best in the business, Ray Jones.
Talking to Ray when I was driving in here tonight, I said to him, boy, I feel sorry for the club. They cannot get a break in the weather. Every time they play, it rains. And he says, who are you talking about? I said, the Hamilton Ticats. He said, oh, yeah, that's right. I work for them. Oh, yeah. The old buzzard, a good fellow. And, of course, kept you in fine fettle for many years.
Yeah, he did. You know, the trainer's got to be a different kind of guy because he's the buffer sometimes between the players and the coaching staff, and he's got to listen to everybody's sob story, and Ray does it with a great deal of charm.
First down, Hamilton from their 34-yard line. Down goes Hobart right at the line of scrimmage. Kevin Konar, number 31. He's from the University of British Columbia. He's having another good year, and he's had a number of them in his 7-year career.
Well, there's Steve Barato, the ex-head coach of the Calgary Stampeders, now back with the BC Lions, working with the offensive backs and receivers. Looked like he was talking to John. He's showing him something. John did a pretty good job on that last drive.
Hobart has been good on 2 of 5 passes for 13 yards. Swings it out to Walter Bender. And Bender tried to do it on his own because there was nobody out there blocking for him. And on a swing pass on 2nd and 9, it'd be nice to have somebody out there with him. He gets to the 40-yard line, but he'll be 4 yards short as Nelson Martin, along with Tyrone Cruz, was there to bring him down.
Darnell Clash on your screen right there. Coming into this game, only 232 yards away from becoming the all-time BC Lion punt returner, and he's going to surpass some pretty good guys. Larry Crawford is playing tonight. People forget he was an excellent punt returner. He's going to go past Leon Bright, Rocky Long. Those were some great ones from the past.
You have named some of the all-time great punt returners as Clash takes it at his 23. Couple of little stutter steps, and he still manages to pick up yards over the 30 to the 31-yard line. And so with 2 minutes and 14 seconds left to play in the opening quarter, Roy DeWalt comes out. DeWalt has gone over the 16,000-yard mark now in his career with the BC Lions, and sometime this year he will pass Joe Kapp as the all-time BC Lions passing leader.
Yeah, coming into this game, he was only 687 yards behind Joe Kapp, so he's taken 100.5 off that so far, at least.
Through with detail. That's a free ball, too. Ticats have recovered inside the 10-yard line. They rule the Lions have it.
Well, let's have a look. Greg Gary comes from the backside, number 41, and the ball comes loose. It appears as though number 61, Mike Walker's got a great shot. Let's see what happens at the end. I thought he recovered the fumble.
I think he rolled over and the ball did come loose.
Well, it was John Henry White then that probably grabbed it for the BC Lions and saved them. That's a tough break.
Fans aren't too happy with that one. But they should be happy that it's second down and loads. They've got to get to the 41-yard line for the first down. DeWalt plays it safe, fires at the Pancrats, and Pancrats gets out to the 17-yard line, which will give Pasaglia a little better room to punt. But it will force a third down and long for BC.
Well, what a big turn of events that was. Hamilton really, offensively and team-wise, needed some kind of a break, but just couldn't come up with it.
By the way, gentlemen, the most surprised person in this ballpark on the last scoring play was the receiver, John Pancratz. As he was running to the end zone, he was convinced the ball was going to hit the goalpost, and so when it hit his hands, he was a little surprised.
He did a good job. Louis Pasaglia stands inside his 5-yard line. Just an end-over-end kick. Bennett moves up on it. Picks it up at the 53-yard line. He was looking for a no-yard flag. None came down. But Bennett has given Hamilton their best field position of the evening. The ball at the BC 46-yard line, and the Ticats need some kind of a drive. They have had zero offense to this point, and we have but 31 seconds left in this opening quarter that Al Bruno cannot be too happy about.
Good job. Well, you hit the nail on the head earlier when you said they win with defense, and Al Bruno, you know, he's going to have to live and die with Ken Hobart because he really has not been able to generate much.
That ball was deflected by Kevin Konar. They were trying to set up the screen pass, but Konar just got the big mitt up in the air.
Well, we're talking one tough defense, you know. Probably the most inconspicuous guy on that defense is number 31, Kevin Konar, but already he's made a couple of big plays in this first quarter.
But, you know, fans of the CFL across Canada know every one of these guys' names. You know, on most teams, people can't name the quarterback, let alone the defense.
For our job, they're the easiest team to do.
Hobart looks, fires, complete to Wayne Lee inside the 35 to the 33-yard line. He's brought down by Nelson Martin. As the first quarter comes to an end, the Ticats look to be coming alive, but they've got an uphill struggle. They trail the BC Lions 14 defensive guys when they come off the field because they forced them in to another field goal situation.
I think the Hamilton defensive guys kind of like that role, though. They feel like that they're the ones that have to carry the team, and they wear it well.
This time, Pancratz will spot it at the 46-yard line. Looks a little short, and it is. Paul Bennett. Now, Paul doesn't have the flash or the speed of Darnell Clash, but I'll tell you, he does an excellent job for these Ticats. He gets the ball out over the 20 to the 21-yard line. Now, if you're Al Bruno, what do you say? We've probably dodged 3 bullets in the last 3 minutes. Maybe we better just play it conservatively here and go in 10 points down. I don't know what the crowd is here tonight, but Hamilton seems to be getting turned on a little bit by the Ticats. It's their kind of football. Defense, strong, tough guys, hard-nosed individuals. We're far from packed, but we're sure a lot better than we were a year ago. Hobart fires looking for Wayne Lee, but the ball was nowhere near him. Just a little slant in. And
you know, he's just not comfortable back there. He kind of just pushed at or aimed it, you know, and he just doesn't look relaxed. On the other hand, when Roy DeWalt was in, you could feel a relaxed atmosphere when he took controls and took the team down, got some rhythm going, but Kenny just can't find that groove.
Well, in fairness to Hobart in comparison to DeWalt, he only is a sophomore after all, but I'll tell you who I am really impressed with is Rick Johnson, the kid in Calgary.
I'll tell you, he's had a great year so far. Well, this is what he does best.
Yeah. Hobart is out over the 40 to the 43-yard line, and he showed you why he is the leading rusher in the Canadian Football League. Forced out by Darnell Class.
Okay, you got 45 seconds. Now you take a shot to get Bernie Ruoff some room to operate. And BC territory. It's a pretty good run by Hobart. He gets a move past Kevin Konar here, number 31, and then he can run, no question about that. Lester Brown overtook him last night in the CFL rushing derby. Ken Hobart second at this point.
So from the 43-yard line, Hamilton has the first down. Over the head of Walter Bender. That's another thing that looked like it could have been a lateral pass, and the officials appear reluctant to call that. Let's just see now.
I'll tell you, Walter wasn't taking any
No.
chances when he dropped it. He went right for it because you never know. Well, we won't tell from this perspective, but it certainly did appear like it might have been a lateral pass.
And the reason that I'm even more confident that it was behind Bender. So on 2nd and 10, let's see what Hobart elects to do. 39 seconds left to play in the second quarter. Trying to set up the screen, but all men were covered. He fires complete the champion, and he'll have the first down at the Hamilton 54-yard line.
Boy, Tony Champion did a great job. You know, they wanted to set the screen up, and usually you have an outlet receiver over the middle. That time on that particular screen pass, they didn't. But Tony Champion recognized the problem and came back to the quarterback, makes a nice catch. Not only gets the first down, but he stops the clock, too.
With 32 seconds left to play in the half. BC 20, Hamilton 10. Lions very impressive in the first quarter. They jumped in front 14-0. But the Ticats have played much better in this second quarter. And as a matter of fact, their defense has been outstanding. First down, Cats, the ball at their 54-yard line. Hobart fires. It is complete to Bender at the 50-yard line. Let's make that Steve Jackson.
Steve Jackson brought in a play last time and replaced Rocky DiPietro. First play of the game makes the catch, but they need a little more downfield than just 5 yards. I'd say another 7, 8, and they got a good shot for Bernie Ruoff.
Clock is now running down to 20 seconds. Hobart dives his way to the 46-yard line, and time is whistled out with 14 seconds left. Now, if he doesn't have the first down, they'll obviously go for it because it'll be 3rd and inches. And we've got a timeout coming, I'm sure. Timeout on behalf of the Ticats, which is a pretty good move on their part because now the clock will not start until the snap of the ball. They can take their shot, and then regardless of how much time is left on the clock, at that point, they'll get at least one more play. Well, there we were talking about Donnie Matthews. He has a terrific record since coming over as the head coach of the BC Lions. And what can you say about Al Bruno? Everybody picked him to finish last in 1985, took his club right to the Grey Cup final.
A real player's coach, as they call him. Not one guy in that team would say something bad about Al Bruno. He treats them fairly, and he's not overly demanding as the coach doesn't drill him and work him into the ground, and the players really respect that and I think respond to it.
Yeah, not only the players, I think everybody that knows Al Bruno knows that he's a pretty sound guy.
Yeah, well, listen, he's intense enough and he's fiery enough at the right times, but also at other times he knows when to let up.
And a lot of people may forget, he was a great receiver with the Toronto Argonauts from the University of Kentucky. And I got to know Al when he came to Ottawa as an assistant coach under Frank Clare. And he was an outstanding fellow then, and I've never noticed a change. He's just the same.
He had some pretty good moves going across the field at Calgary last week.
Yeah, right. So, 3rd down and inches. Ticats will go for the first down. And they would hope to pick up a couple of yards, make it easier for Bernie Ruoff. Hobart has the first down, and he is inside the 45-yard line.
Well, Ticats still have their timeout.
I think
he took the timeout there.
I don't think so. No. It was the Hamilton club that took the timeout. So now they can take one shot at it, I guess. They got 12 seconds left. Time starts when Jake Ireland whistles it in. Pass goes incomplete, and that brings it down to 6 seconds.
Bernie wished he had the chance last week.
Yeah, and should have had the chance, according to all the video that I've seen of it.
Yeah.
But I don't see that there's a thing that Commissioner Mitchell can do about that.
Well, I don't know what happens to the $5,000 because they have to send that in along with a protest, so...
Pass is incomplete, and so with 1 second left on the clock, Bernie Ruoff will come in. How come they let him kick with 1 second this week and they wouldn't let him kick last week?
Because they're at home.
Oh, yeah.
And Bernie's kicking for distance with a lot of confidence right now. He's telling me before tonight's game that in Calgary, with a little bit of a breeze, he was kicking them from 70 yards away. He said midfield, no problem tonight.
That's what Frank Rigney was telling me about last week's game in the pre-game warm-up. 52 yards away. Ruoff's kick is good. Time has expired here in the second quarter. And Al Bruno will say, you see, I told you so. He could have done it last week as well. But he does it this week, and so the score at halftime, the British Columbia Lions 20, the Hamilton Tiger Cats 13.
Stay with us for the CTV halftime show, and we will feature the CFL this week. Look back at last night's games in Ottawa and Hamilton. CFL Commissioner Doug Mitchell is here to answer your questions. We will have the Pacific Western Airlines Stars of the Week. And Link will be back.
Carling O'Keefe Sports, the CFL this week. Hello once again, everybody. We have a couple of games from last night to look back on this evening. First, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, trying to live up to their reputation as a powerhouse, were at home to Calgary. They were also trying to escape the Western basement. Trying to do the same in the East, the Montreal Alouettes paid a visit on the Rough Riders in Ottawa. And by the time the smoke had cleared, there were no winless teams left in the CFL, though this one started off all Riders. Third down gamble, and Lester Brown goes off tackle once behind Montreal's short yardage defense. There's no one left. This in the first quarter, a 62-yard gallop for Brown, a 7-3 lead for the Rider fans. Now to the fourth frame. J.C. Watts looks long up the middle. He wants Mark Lewis. Watch the ball. It is tipped by Daryl Moyer, lands in the hands of Lewis, a 72-yard touchdown. 21-14 Ottawa, the Riders looking for sole possession of first place in the East. And here's more for the Riders. Watts goes airborne again from 20 yards away. Rookie Reggie Butts, and the Riders had a 13-point lead. The clock now certainly becoming a factor in Ottawa's favor. But Montreal does get last-gasp heroics. First from Tony Johns, who crashes 3 yards to score, and head coach Gary Gerchik still has hope with just over 2 minutes to play. Then backup quarterback Brian Ransom, he goes outside to James Hood, who breaks a tackle. He's off on a scoring sprint from midfield. The question in Ottawa today, where was the coverage? The convert gives the Alouettes a 1-point win, their first victory of the year, 29-28 over Ottawa. Meanwhile, in Winnipeg, the Bombers wrote to prove they are better than a 1-2 team. Third quarter, they only lead Calgary 4-3 when Tom Clements finds James Murphy with an 11-yard scoring toss. But it would be the Winnipeg defense that would provide the backbreaker on this night. We go now to the fourth quarter. Calgary's Rick Johnson, deep in his own end, is intercepted by the veteran David Shaw. He worms his way 21 yards to score, and the Bombers were in command. Their fans knew it, but the Calgary Stampeders would not let Winnipeg run away. Young Rick Johnson comes right back. This just 2 minutes later, he heaves a 19-yard scoring toss to Big Ray Alexander. 18-14, suddenly the Stampeders were threatening. but the running of Willard Reeves makes the difference. 187 yards on the night, and that touchdown to provide the eventual winning margin. Well, Calgary does get one more score with just seconds left. Johnson to Alexander again, a 4-yard pass. But the Bombers even their record at 2-2, beating Calgary 25-20.
The CFL lost a well-respected member of its officiating staff this past offseason when Lauren Woods died in Ottawa. Prior to last night's Montreal Rough Rider game in the nation's capital, the CFL made a special presentation to Mrs. Woods, including this picture of Lauren in action. And until the end of this season, all officials in the Canadian Football League will wear a number 38 on their jersey. And completing this weekend's schedule in the Canadian Football League, there is one more game you can watch here on CTV. Tomorrow night, the Toronto Argonauts are in Regina. 7 o'clock local start, 9 o'clock in the East. Next week's Friday Nighter has Toronto at Edmonton. This is CTV's Friday Night Football. Halftime continues in a moment.
And it comes from Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, written by John Breton. Will the Canadian Football League ever consider increasing the number of imports that are allowed on a team's roster? Doug, what do you have to say to that?
Well, Dan, I think we have considered it, but we feel it's very important to maintain the Canadian content that we have in the Canadian Football League. Tremendously important to youngsters growing up playing minor, high school, and university football. And when you consider the improvement in the quality of university football over the last decade, I think it's tremendously important for us to maintain the Canadian content in the CFL.
There's an interesting import restriction in Europe.
Yeah, it is actually. Over there, they have 3 imports. 2 can play in every game, but they don't allow the imports to play at quarterback over there. They're developing the home brews, and they've had a tremendous difficulty with it because they don't have any minor football programs. They've just started football at a senior level, and they've had problems developing quarterbacks.
Developing players in Canada. That's why you have to have Canadians in the CFL. If you want to ask the commissioner, here's the address. If your question is chosen, you will be rewarded with an official CFL football, the Spalding J5B.
And trust me when I say that is a very contentious issue. Many general managers have asked the commissioner and wanted the league to expand to more imports. They did not, and I think a lot of us are pleased they didn't. There's a look at what happened in the first 30 minutes of this football game. 105 net yards, BC. Boy, that's hard to believe considering how well they moved the football in the first quarter, but Hamilton really came on defensively in that second 15 minutes. What are you going to show us?
Well, Pat, we're going to show a couple of touchdowns that occurred in the first half of play, and Roy DeWalt, who had to leave the game in the second quarter, really did get off to a pretty good start. Had a nice pass to Kevan Jenkins. Jenkins then scored a touchdown. They came right back, and this pass will go to John Pancratz, but they did an excellent job at picking up the safety blitz. Howard Fields coming in, and the ball nearly hits the goalpost, but John Pancratz, number 21, hangs on and gets his first touchdown of the season. That put the BC Lions out in front at that point, 14-0. The Hamilton Ticats did come back. They got a turnover by the rookie cornerback, Calvin Adams. They took it down to the 1-yard line on a 3rd down gamble. Ken Hobart rolls out on the naked bootleg. He can't get into the end zone himself, so why not throw it into number 23, Rocky DiPietro, his 2nd touchdown of the season. The only Ticat touchdown in that first half. At halftime, 20-13 in a very interesting game.
And it becomes even more interesting, of course, because with Roy DeWalt out of there with a hyperextended knee, and obviously out for the remainder of this ball game, the burden falls to Tim Cowan, and Cowan was not all that successful. Let's watch now as Bernie Ruoff's kickoff is handled from the 30-yard line out to the 45. And number 54 for the BC Lions is Glenn Leonard. And he got an opportunity to return that kickoff and did a pretty good job out to the 45-yard line. So the BC Lions begin with Tim Cowan at quarterback. John Henry White, of course, number 20, and Kevan Jenkins, 23, are in that offensive backfield. He's got Jim Sandusky, number 3, Ned Armour, number 8, John Pancratz, 21, and Jan Carinci, 27, as his receivers. Quickly, Cowan fires. Good concentration by Armour to hang on to the football and pick up about 8 yards. Calvin Adams and Greg Gary were there to make the stop.
Well, coming into tonight's game, Tim Cowan had only thrown 22 passes on the season, and you know when you're the backup quarterback, you don't get that extra work in practice running with the first team. You're usually running the other team's offense. So it's going to take him a little bit to feel his way.
Well, he's gone back to 50% now on that completion. He's 4 out of 8. And here's the reverse to Kevan Jenkins, and it's wide open, or at least it was, because coming across was Howard Fields, number 16, to cut him down. It appeared as though Fields had been sucked in, but he held his ground and held the contain on the outside and then just dove in and cut the legs out from under him.
Gentlemen, here's the update on Roy DeWalt. The original diagnosis was correct. Hyperextension of the left knee, a little bit of a strain. It is not serious, but he will not come back to this ball game tonight.
Thank you, Dan Matheson. It is first down, BC in Hamilton territory at the 53. Kevan Jenkins is pulled down immediately by Mike Walker. And if Jenkins got back to the line of scrimmage, he did a good job to do so.
Mike Walker is the CFL leader in quarterback sacks so far this season, with 7 already. His 5th year from Washington State. Does not have a sack tonight, but a nice play that time to stop Kevan Jenkins. Ticats, as we told you earlier, lead the entire league in quarterback sacks.
And they've given up the fewest, so those are pretty impressive stats. Cowan's pass is caught by Jan Carinci, and the former Toronto Argonaut steps out with a first down at the Hamilton 42-yard line.
Well, if you'll remember, in the first half, Ned Armour got called for offensive pass interference on a pick. That time, the same play, but he really didn't get a piece of Howard Fields, just ran in front of him enough to distract him, and Jan Carinci was wide open. I suspect that's the same play he scored the touchdown on last week against Montreal to beat them.
What a heartbreaking loss that was for the Owls, but they came back and administered one to Ottawa last night.
You guys look like you were getting cold.
Yeah, it looked like the same play, didn't it? Except that Adams on this occasion had the sideline to help him out.
Well, pretty good trade for the BC Lions when they were able to get Walter Ballard and Jan Carinci. They gave up Nick Hebler, who's now, of course, in Saskatchewan. And Kerry Parker, who's on the reserve list with the Argonauts. So 2 players not figuring in the Argonaut plans, but both players traded to BC figuring prominently.
On first down, this is the draw play to Kevan Jenkins. And Jenkins is inside the 30 at about the 27-yard line. It's another BC Lion first down on this, their opening sequence, and an impressive one it is. 15 yards the game.
Nice job up the middle with Al Wilson, the center. Guards Gerald Ropert and Glenn Leonard open a huge hole. They've had success tonight on that draw play with Kevan Jenkins.
Now Bruno is saying what's happened to us here. It's pretty good play selection, actually. Again, this is Jenkins. And again, he picks his way, and this time inside the 25 to the 23. Mark Streeter, number 20, and Leo Ezrin, 72, were there to bring him down.
You know, we talked earlier that the BC Lions really had not run the football effectively this year. They should be able to. Their offensive line average is 6'4" in height, 270 pounds. So you got a big group of boys there.
Yeah, and they also average 10 years experience, which might be just as important as all of those others.
I think it's more important.
It's second down and 5 yards to go. Cowan fired. That went off the hands of John Henry White, very nearly into the hands of Jan Carinci, but it ended up simply falling to the turf.
Well, I thought he was going for Jan Carinci, and John Henry White kind of got in the way.
So Lou Pasaglia will come out. He's been good on 2 of 3 field goal attempts.
Well, it's great to have 2 quarterbacks like DeWalt and Cowan, though. You and I have always been big fans of Tim Cowan. He just never gets a chance to play, but he's a pretty good one.
And it's funny, Donnie Matthews tells me that Carlton Watson could probably play for 6 of the 9 teams in the CFL right now. So they're well stocked as Louis Pasaglia's field goal attempt is good. And so with 11-12 left to play in this third quarter, the Lions increased their lead to 23-13. We'll be back in a moment. The CFL Hall of Fame, or the Tommy Joe Coffey, or Lord Earl Grey. Well, you can find that and much more in the CFL Facts and Figures book. It really is the greatest magazine of its kind ever published. You can get it for $14.95 plus $3 handling charges at the address you just saw on the screen. Howard Fields with the kickoff return for the Ticats. And Howard is ridden down as he gets to the 40-yard line by Keith Gooch. So now the Ticats trailing by 10 points. Would like to get something moving. You get a little punch-up going now, guys? Or?
Yeah, number 51, Pat Brady, who snaps for the Ticats on third down kicking situations.
Oh, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to me Pat Brady is from British Columbia, grew up out there with his family. They were good friends of Bill Stevenson, her old partner.
That's right. Well, when you only play those special teams, you got to get your licks in.
Yeah.
Howard Field's one of the hardest workers when I was with the Ticats 6 years. A Baylor Bear. Still looking for his first interception of 1986. Was an All-Canadian in 1985, though.
This is Jed Tommy. And Tommy powers his way for about 3 yards to the 43-yard line. He really is built like the classic fullbacks of old. He may not be as tall as some people would like. They claim that he's 6 feet, 230. If he is, then he reminds me of the Pat Abruzzi types. You remember Pat Abruzzi, don't you?
Very well. I think I was still wet in my bed when he was playing.
Well, he didn't quit last year, and we know what you were doing last year, so. Tony Champion makes the catch, then coughs up the football, so they rule it simply an incompletion.
So interesting. We were a group of us talking at halftime there. And the real consensus was that the problem with Ken Hobart, or who's ever calling his plays, is their first down selections are so poor. They find themselves constantly in 2nd and 10, 2nd and long situations. And for a quarterback that's struggling with his passing game, boy, that's just a killer. Got to get 5, 6, 7 yards on first down. Give yourself some breathing room.
Well, it's 3rd down and 5 yards to go, so Bernie Ruoff is in to punt for Hamilton. Hangs this one high to Darnell Class at his 21. Well, he ran an awful long ways to pick up a couple of yards, but at least he did get back to where he started. Steve Jackson, 74, was down to make the tackle. 22-yard line is where they start. They tell me that a couple of thousand fans from Saskatchewan are going into BC for the Lions' next home game, which is Saturday, August the 9th at 7 o'clock. Now, the Saskatchewan fans think that it's important for them to be there to cheer their Rough Riders on, so I would think that BC fans will think it's important enough to cheer the Lions on. Saskatchewan is a club on the rise. There's no question about that. And we will feature them tomorrow night against the Toronto Argonauts in what should be a real headbanger. Keevan Jenkins is zapped by Mike Walker the moment he got the football. Walker, the 5-year veteran from Washington State, just didn't give him a chance.
That's the second time in the third quarter that Mike Walker has made a big play against Keevan Jenkins. Just slipped that block so quickly, Keevan Jenkins didn't have a chance.
The loss was 3 yards, make it 2nd and 13. Lions have not been as sharp under Cowan, however, as they were under DeWalt. Except this time he airs it out, and he overfires the intended receiver, Ned Armour.
You know, Pat, I've really been impressed with number 5, Calvin Adams. We saw him a couple of weeks ago in their big upset over Winnipeg. He's a raw rookie out of East Carolina. He's only 5'9", but, you know, I've yet to really see him make a bad play. They had a little busted coverage against Winnipeg, and James Murphy got in behind for a free touchdown, but so far, step for step with Ned Armour, that pass would have had to been a perfect pass to complete it. The young kid's played pretty darn good.
I think that's an excellent comment. I also think that it shows you the real strength of this Hamilton team. They don't have to patch the lineup anymore. They've got some solid players, and when they bring in somebody, they feel if he isn't quality, he's not going to be there. And Leach's point about Calvin Adams, number 5, certainly strikes home that point. Ball bounces back towards the BC lines, and it's grabbed there by Robinson, number 33. Mike Robinson very alertly grabbed that ball and brought it in to the BC 38. The Ticats are going to be in business when we return, although they are trailing by 10, 23-13. In half of this third quarter, but what an opportunity right now for the Hamilton Ticats to get right back in this football game. They trailed at 17-3 at one point. It's now 23-13. The Ticats have a first down at the BC 38-yard line. So now this is going to tell us a lot about what is likely to happen throughout the course of this contest. There was tremendous pressure from Larry Crawford from the blind side, and then James Parker was in to front him, and so Hobart actually had no place to go.
Almost looked like it was going to be a reverse to Tony Champion, and Tony Champion was coming, and then all of a sudden he stopped. Now Ken Hobart has to improvise, and really no running room at all for him, but there's no question that was a broken play.
So the loss was a couple of yards. It's second down, 12 yards to go. The ball is back at the 40-yard line. Deep for Champion, but he overthrows him. Now, obviously, the fact that Hobart is mobile is largely responsible for the Ticats coming into this ball game having given up the fewest sacks. But they must have a half-decent offensive line, too.
No, I think they're doing a pretty good job, that offensive line. They're a veteran group, really, outside of Dale Sanderson, who's in his second year. But I think, for the most part, they've done a pretty good job tonight protecting for Hobart. But, you know, there's an old term we use. You got to take the crumbs. That time Steve Stapler was open over the middle, but Hobart wanted to go for the big one.
Bernie Ruoff's 47-yard attempt is wide. Melvin Bird is 15 yards deep in the end zone. He takes his time and now steps out over the end zone boundary. And Ruoff picks up a single point to make it a 23-14 ball game in favor of the Lions. So they really squander a golden opportunity. They had first down at the 38-yard line, and they pick up a point that really, you know, barring a whole lot of different happenings, isn't going to mean a lot.
You know what, Pat, that mentally, that's kind of deflating for a team. You know, it's really humid here tonight. We're in the third quarter. The guys are going to start to get a little tired, and once you get tired physically, you start to get tired mentally as well. And things like that, where you've got a glorious opportunity to at least get a field goal, they kind of wear on you after a while when you don't come up with the big plays.
6:30 left to play in the third quarter. A 9-point lead for the BC Lions. Kevan Jenkins again on the draw play, gets it to the 45 for a pickup of 5. Ben Zambiazzi and Greg Gary, 31 and 41 there to bring him down.
A little more in the BC defense, too. Darnell Clash says that in that entire first half, the Tiger Cats did not do one thing offensively that surprised them, with the possible exception of the option play, and they will not be surprised again, he promises.
It's 2nd and 5 for the Lions. Cowan's pass is caught by John Pankratz right at midfield, so it'll be a first down. Zambiazzi and Ezrins got there too late. Pankratz dropped about 4 last week against Montreal, so he's come back to make up for them here tonight. He's caught 4. Funny, I was asking head coach Donnie Matthews if he was upset at Pankratz. He said, no. I've seen Mervyn Fernandez drop 4. They all catch a lot, so when they drop them, you know, you've got to understand that happens. Screen pass is picked off. Mark Streeter. Touchdown, Ticats. What a turn of events. And what a great play by Streeter. Cowan faked the play action, then dropped back, set up the screen, and the only thing wrong was Mark Streeter made the catch.
Tim Cowan trying to set up the screen pass, as Pat mentioned, a perfect strike to Mark Streeter. How about this guy? He leads the Canadian Football League with 7 interceptions now. That's his 2nd already this year for a touchdown. Well, if the rest of the CFL teams aren't aware
they must be by now, that you better have the chin straps hooked on when you come into Ivor Wynne Stadium at 86. Because Bernie Ruoff's point after has narrowed this to a 2-point BC advantage. Lions 23, Ticats 21. We'll be back with the kickoff in a moment.
Pressure by Grover. Covington gets the arms up, and that forced the ball too high. Mark Streeter, what a big play. Well, you know, we talked about defense with the Ticats. Why not score a touchdown through the boot?
Ruoff's kickoff will be handled by Melvin Bird from his 18-yard line. Bird with a determined return gets over the 40 to the 43-yard line, where Mike Robinson, 33, was there to bring him down. A little slow getting to his feet is Steve Jackson, number 74.
Pat, the Hamilton defense obviously getting the job done once again tonight. Paul Bennett was telling me that the dressing room was very quiet tonight. Before the game and at halftime, he says that is always a very ominously good sign for the defense. And also he remembers what happened last time CTV did a home game when Hamilton was expected to lose and lose badly.
They may want us in here for each of their home games. But then again, I've walked in here and the whole stadium has booed me, so I don't know why.
Well, they better send a limo because I don't like driving over here.
But I'll tell you, we're going to a place where we'll be cheered tomorrow. Regina, Saskatchewan. I'll be walking in there. But the guy who broke into pro football right there at Taylor Field.
That's a great town. I love going out there.
Lee Pedersen and I. We're going to have ourselves some yucks out there. First down, Lions. They better get it cranked up again. Cowan floats it up, looking for Armour. It very nearly deflected into Jan Carenzi's hands.
Calvin Adams, there he is, number 5. We just talked a few minutes ago about him. At 5'9", that's a nice jump to knock that ball away. Ticat defense, they're really doing a job. Look at that jump. That's what you look for in a defensive back or any football player for that matter. They test them now on their vertical leaping ability. It's just the kind of guy that can, if he's out of position, can go high in the air and knock the ball away. Well, obviously at 5'9", Calvin Adams is able to do that. Looks like he got a cramp in that calf.
Yeah, I'm surprised he's the first guy down tonight with a leg cramp because it is absolutely so humid. It's the kind of thing you expect. It may happen more as the game progresses.
I would expect it to happen to the BC Lion players much more than the Hamilton Tiger Cats because it's been very humid here for the last couple of weeks, and Ray Jones, as the head trainer, would make sure that they're getting lots of salt in their diet, lots of water before the game, and they'd be used to it by now.
Well, if you've ever had a cramp in your leg, you know how uncomfortable it can be, even if you get it in bed.
The worst one's when you get it late at night in bed and you're like a fish out of water.
Well, just a reminder that tomorrow on the CTV network, you'll see the wide world of sports featuring the Grand National drag races, the Texaco Equestrian Derby, the Firecracker 400, the U.S. Outdoor Track and Field Championships, all the excitement of these big events on Wide World of Sports tomorrow right here on CTV. On second down, Cowan's pass, looking for Sandusky. He's got it at the Hamilton 36-yard line is where he's forced up by Les Brown. Well, the BC Lions are a big play team, and that was certainly a big play. They needed it desperately.
Well, it's not surprising that Jim Cowan would go to Jim Sandusky. Last year in Ivor Wynne Stadium, the two hooked up together and had a remarkable evening. Jim Sandusky on the corner pattern in behind Les Brown there.
The sure hands of San Diego State graduate Jim Sandusky gives BC first down at the 36-yard line of Hamilton. Cowan going deep, overthrows Sandusky, or as a matter of fact, it was Sandusky who broke up what would have been an interception by Les Brown.
Fans thought there might have been a little offensive interference there, but I don't think so. I think he timed that pretty good. You know, all of a sudden the receiver turns into a defensive back in a hurry. Jim Sandusky, if you're not familiar, had arthroscopic surgery on his knee in the off-season without the permission of the club. That kind of bothered them a little bit. He's been slow to come around, but now his second game with the Lions this year.
It's second down and 10 yards to go, BC. And now play is whistled dead. Well, it'd be nice if they called a time count violation when the ball is snapped as opposed to when the guy's sitting back in the pocket.
Time count violation, DC number 11. Second down.
So the 5-yard penalty makes it second down and 15 Lions back at the 41-yard line of Hamilton.
Come on, D!
Well, complete mix-up in the pattern. Armour ran to the outside and Cowan threw it deep. Well, again, the Ticats have done the job defensively.
Well, I said earlier that you don't get the practice time to coordinate everything with your receivers, and that is becoming more apparent now with Tim Cowan, especially on that one, Ned Armour, and he were so out of sync.
Let's tell it like it is. Cowan has not been very impressive here so far this season.
Oh, not at all.
Numbers.
7 for 17 tonight, 98 yards.
Brian Ellebrun was shaken up momentarily, but it's good to see that he's walking off under his own steam, the right offensive tackle.
Spent 6 years with the Saskatchewan Roughriders, the last 3 with BC, a graduate of the Regina Junior Rams. Matter of fact, was a teammate of mine in Regina when he was still a junior player.
Louis Pasaglia's field goal try will come from the 47.5-yard line. It's wide. Paul Bennett takes it out of there. And Bennett is out to the 10.
I might have given up the single point there.
Well, I'm sure that Bennett is saying a field goal puts us in front, but I tend to agree with you, particularly with the offensive performance that the Ticats have displayed all season long.
Yeah, you're only in the third quarter, too.
Yeah.
You know, make it 3 points, get to the 35. If you don't pick up a first down, you got a guy like Bernie Ruoff that can, bail you out a little bit, but, it's tough to second guess.
Ticats don't have a first down this half. They need one right now, that's for sure. Starting from their 10-yard line.
Up tackle!
This is Jed Tommy. Tommy gets absolutely nothing. Rick Klassen, number 90, was there to make the stop. So too was Mike Gray, number 77. Well, I don't know what you can do effectively against this BC lineup. Tell you one thing, I wouldn't want to... I mean, if they play man for man, they're probably going to shut down everybody. But if they play some zone, obviously you can find some holes in the zone. But not if you're Ken Hobart, because James Parker was right in his face the moment he got back there.
Watch how quickly number 40, James Parker, gets in here. A little play fake. Well, that's going to fool nobody on 2nd and 10, and sure didn't fool number 40, James Parker.
You see, that's such a valid comment that you make. I mean, a play-action fake on 2nd down with 10 yards to go should be a basic knowledge for a quarterback.
Yeah, you'd think so.
I mean, unless you're going to run the football,
It doesn't fool too many people. Ken Hobart's only in his 2nd year, and sometimes it takes a few years to realize these things. You and I have been around football a long time, and I don't know, in the heat of the battle, you just lose your head a little bit.
Good punt by Ruoff, chases Class back to the 53. Look at him. Just like a little water bug. Zips all over the place and gets into the Hamilton 40-yard line. A 52-yard clutch hit by Bernie Ruoff, but then the 13-yard return puts BC right back in business again.
I mean, you know the guy's going to get his yardage on punt returns, but he just excites the rest of the team because you see him really jitterbugging down the sidelines, fighting for an extra yard, and boy, that's infectious on the rest of the guys.
They rule that he was down at the 41-yard line, so that's where the Lions begin with 1:30 left to play in the third quarter. Lions lead it by 2 points, 23-21. Cowan fires, and the catch is made by Jan Carinci in front of Howard Fields for a pickup of about 5. Well, it's not sensational, but it certainly accomplishes what BC wants to do, and that's establish some kind of a gain on first down.
Well, 2nd and 5 is a great situation. Even if you only get 4 yards, you're in a situation now where you're going to be gambling.
Cowan fires it over the middle to Pancratz, and he has the first down to the 27-yard line. And, of course, that just points up exactly what Leaf was saying. You pick up 5 yards on first down. Now anything is going to pick up the additional yardage necessary for the first down. Just a little slant in like John Pancratz ran.
And BC has the beautiful blend in the receiving corps. They've got the 2 speed guys outside with Sandusky and Ned Armour, and inside you've got the middle distance route guys, Jan Carinci and John Pancratz. Very dependable, read the hook zones perfectly, and that's a great blend to have on your receiving corps.
Well, we're going to see a lot of this in the next few minutes. There's no question about that. It is extremely humid, as we've been saying all night. Greg Gary, number 41, is the injured Ticat. It doesn't appear to be too serious. At least we hope it is not a knee. However, they're not working out a cramp either, so.
And these big fellows are really starting to labor off the field now, Pat. It's a little more difficult for them to lumber on and off every time than the smaller guys. Although I was talking to Bernie Glyer about the heat and humidity in Vancouver, he says it never gets in Vancouver like it is here tonight.
I wouldn't think there'd be too many places in the world where it gets much worse than this. Do you think it's tough on those guys? Remember this, Dan, they're in shape. Some of us aren't. (15-5) in first downs for BC throughout this ball game. Ticats don't have any in this second half. This is Kevan Jenkins, and Jenkins is inside the 25-yard line to about the 24 for a pickup, well, just of a couple of yards. Well, that's a better job by the Hamilton Ticat defense stopping this running play. Barring a penalty, this will be the final play of the third quarter. Second down, 8 yards to go. Cowan going for Sandusky. No. A flag comes down, interference against Lester Brown, no question about it. But what Les did is he prevented the touchdown because Sandusky was going to make the catch.
Yeah, I think you're right, Pat. That's a pretty good penalty there. Well, it takes you to the 1-yard line, though, so you're... I don't like their chances, but...
I know, but you know what I mean? It's like a guy on death row. You know what I mean? The governor calls and says you only got an hour to live. Now, an hour is not much, but, I mean, it's an extra hour. You know what I mean?
If you can get out for a while.
Well, if you can have another sandwich.
You always think of food.
First and touchdown to go Lions. Give us the Kevan. He didn't get in. Now the governor has just called, and you got another hour, you see? That's it. That's the end of the third quarter. The BC Lions lead at 23-21. We'll return with the fourth quarter in a moment. Kevan Jenkins, but he does not get into the end zone. And so it is second down. The ball's still at the 1-yard line. BC trying to increase their lead. Give us to Jenkins again. This time he dives in, but there is a penalty marker on the field. Probably offside. It is. Offside against Hamilton. That's normally the case when you see a flag down in that area. The defense just trying to get that little extra edge. I didn't notice the movement, but I did notice Kevan Jenkins just fly it into the end zone. And so the BC Lions lead it by 8 with the convert still to come.
Pretty tough to stop them from the 1-yard line twice in a row, especially when you're running behind number 68, big 6'6", 270, John Blaine. He's a load.
Louis' point after is good. It's a 30-21 ball game in favor of the Lions. And we are just underway here in quarter 4.
It's been a heck of a game, though, hasn't it?
It has been a very interesting football game.
And here's an interesting sidebar on the dehydration story. You talk about cramps. I just had a nice talk with the BC training staff. They start pumping water into their players yesterday. On the flight here from Vancouver, they stress drink lots of water on the flight, drink lots of water in the hotel. They want them all full of fluid before the game even starts.
That's the way you do it.
There's the look at what happened in the first 3 quarters. The only thing that counts is the score. And it was close at the end of 3 quarters, but now it's a 9-point edge for the BC Lions. This one's not over. You know, you can look back and say, well, Hamilton's been lucky. I mean, Mark Streeter makes the interception. That's Hamilton football. That's how they stay in games.
And that's not lucky when Streeter made that play. But, you know, 88 yards in total offense. You know, I mean, that's not good enough.
No, it isn't. Oh. Tony Champion on the dead run. And Champion gets out to about the 49-yard line. I can remember the coaching staff telling us about Tony Champion and the blazing speed. I'd really love to see him in the open field to see what he could do.
Well, the Dallas Cowboys thought enough of it to draft him primarily as a kick returner. Couldn't catch on with them, and then, of course, came to Hamilton last season on a 21-day trial, eventually made the team. But, you know, if Dallas takes a shot at you as a kick returner, you know you've got some ability.
Well, he's got the good build, too, at 6'1", 175 pounds. Looks like he probably can fly. First down, Ticats from their 49. Hobart throwing deep for Streeter. Oh, what a fine play by Darnell Class. Excuse me, I said Streeter. I meant Steve Stapler, of course, the wide receiver, number 80. He was there, and the ball was very nearly there as well, but Clash made a good play.
That's great coverage. You know, you teach a defensive back on the streak pattern to stay right on that receiver's hip. Then the quarterback has to throw it to the outside to the sidelines, and it's an extremely difficult pass to complete. Darnell Clash, perfect coverage.
But, you know, that looks like Hamilton's bag. Like, we don't know what to do, so let's throw it deep. Maybe we'll get lucky and complete a line.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I think they're really disorganized out there offensively. That's a horrible pass.
Yeah. And that's picked off by Larry Crawford. And Crawford is into the 45-yard line. A penalty marker comes down. We were talking about a quarter and a half ago. I said to spotter Alex Ponton, I said Crawford will pick one of these things off, and sure enough, he does.
Well, you know, I don't know who he was trying to feather that pass into, but really a ball that shouldn't have been thrown. Sometimes it's the receiver's fault. I don't know. All I know is that Larry Crawford has his 3rd interception of 1986. One behind Norm Fieldgate now for the all-time BC interception lead.
All right, well, we'll come back and find out about the penalty. It's 30-21 in favor of the Lions. We'll be back in a moment. Illegal block by the BC Lions on the interception returned by Larry Crawford. So the penalty has moved them back to midfield, but they do have the football. They do have the lead by 9 points with 13:50 left to play in the 4th quarter. Well, Cowan was hoping that he would be able to get away, but he couldn't from Romel Andrews and Rod Skillman. Looked like it was going to open up a little bit for him, but by the time he decided to run, they were there. Pickup was 3 yards, make it 2nd and 7, with the ball in Hamilton territory at the 52-yard line. Mike Kerrigan, who is listed as the 3rd team quarterback for Hamilton, was warming up on the sidelines. Whether we'll see him or not, we'll have to wait. Well, this is the reverse to Kevan Jenkins. Ticats read it well. Now, where did he step out? Boy, number be about a yard short. Excuse me, Lee.
Number 72, Leo Esmonds, just did a super job stringing that play out to the sidelines, fight off the block, and
knock him out of bounds.
Came to Hamilton rather in 1983 in a trade for David Shaw, who I understand had an interception for a touchdown last night in that big win over Calgary.
Well, David has played well.
Yeah, he really has. Around 12, 13 years now.
You know what I like about David Shaw? You know, he knows he has ability and he doesn't mind telling you. And that doesn't bother me in the least.
No, it's okay if you can back it up.
Yep.
And year after year, he's been able to do that. He's got a lot of enthusiasm, too.
Indirect snap to John Henry White. He has the first down. And unlike in Ottawa last night, where they did the same thing only to top up the football on a fumble after making the first down, John Henry hangs on, and the BC Lions are getting ready to salt this one away as John Henry goes for 28 yards into the 18-yard line of the Hamilton Ticats.
Well, the one thing I really like about Donnie Matthews is he puts in all these trick plays, and it's fun for the players, especially when you use them a lot. He does the end-arounds, the end-around passes, and now the punt snaps to John Henry White, and the players get a kick out of when you practice something like that, getting to use it in a game.
Well, you see the time. And with a 9-point lead, mind you, nothing is safe in the CFL. If you were watching that game last night in Ottawa, you know what I mean. They scored 14 points in the final couple of minutes. Montreal did, but beat Ottawa 29-28. But I would think if BC puts this in the end zone, it's going to be tough for the Ticats to come back. As Kevan Jenkins was upset as he got to the 16-yard line by gentle Ben, who wasn't so gentle on that occasion, Ben Zambiazzi.
Reads it well from that middle linebacking spot. Number 54, Glenn Leonard, could not get over in time to cut him off, and Ben puts pretty good hit on Kevan.
Pickup was only a yard, so make it 2nd and 9. Well, he appeared to be over the line of scrimmage. To me, I don't see a marker down. Now there is one on the far side of the field. He was over the line of scrimmage. Still legal forward pass.
Yeah, too much indecision right here because Tim Cowan could have easily picked up the first down, but he saw Jan Karinsky breaking open. Didn't hit him with the pass anyway.
Illegal forward pass. PC number 11. Fine. 3rd down.
So it'll be 3rd down, 8 yards to go. That means Louis Pasaglia will come in and try to pick up the 33rd scoring point of the evening for the BC Lions. Well, again, Hamilton has to feel fortunate because giving up 3 points doesn't end the ball game here. It is good. It's a 33-21 ball game in favor of the Lions with 11 minutes and 29 seconds left to play in the 4th quarter. We'll be back in a moment. In Regina, and then next week, CTV's Friday Night Football will come to you from Edmonton, where the Eskimos will play host to the Toronto Argonauts. That'll be at 9:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Look for that one because it'll be a good game. They're all good games on CFL on CTV on Friday night. Champion from the 25-yard line. Well, that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see his speed, and he did get to the outside. He got to the 50-yard line. He was able to evade Jim Sandusky initially, and that allowed him to get to the outside. Nelson Martin and Darnell Clash finally bring him down.
Yeah, his counterpart, number 1, showed some pretty good speed getting out there to bring him down as well.
Mike Kerrigan from Northwestern University is now at quarterback for Hamilton. And that elicits a big response from the fans. He's a big one at 6'4", 215 pounds. He fires that one over the head of Rocky DiPietro, but at least he has the right idea. If I was coming into the football game for Hamilton at quarterback, the only guy I'd look for would be DiPietro.
Well, I tell you what, he won't be looking for him anymore because Rocky's down and out after that sucker pass. Watch this little looper, and Nelson Martin, number 4, just drills him right in the ribs.
Ooh. Yeah.
It'll be Steve Jackson or Wayne Lee, I think. Oh, that's a tough shot. Rocky took the helmet right in the rib.
Well, I know, but I mean, the guy's playing his first down ever. And it may be Rocky's last down ever.
Ooh.
You know, Rocky has been such a great performer for the Hamilton Ticats. And in the last couple of years, he's sustained some really bad injuries. Let's hope that the ribs aren't broken right now, because if they are, who knows how long he'll be out.
Well, he had the knee injury in training camp and was just able to get himself back in shape now to play. He's been back for a couple of games, and he took a heck of a shot from Nelson Martin, slowly getting up now to his feet. And I tell you, he's one tough customer. Every year in training camp, some guys used to get into some fights in the heat of the battle, and I tell you what, he was a tough guy taking on some defensive ends in training camp. He never lost any of the fights.
Looks like he's all right, which is good news for Hamilton fans. It's second down and 10 yards to go, Ticats. Mike Kerrigan, 6'4", 215 pounds from Northwestern, in at the quarterbacking spot. He throws, and the pass is cut by number 17, Wayne Lee, and he will have a Hamilton first down. Well, I like Kerrigan already better than I like Hobart, because at least he'll throw the football.
Well, they took a look at him last September on a 21-day trial, rather. He had spent some time with New England in the National Football League, and at 6'4", you know, he can set up back there and has nice vision over that oncoming rush, and threw a nice strike in there to Wayne Lee.
It's their first down of this half, believe it or not. They're still in the ball game. They only trail by 12. First down at the BC 51. Kerrigan throws into the middle once again to Lee, and Lee has a pickup of very close to 8 yards into the BC 42-yard line.
You know, I like Wayne Lee. He's not too flashy, but he gets the job done. 4 years out of the University of Ottawa, and you know, in university he was a defensive back for a while, and so he knows how those zones work, where the open areas are. So being a receiver, you know, he's just a little bit better at finding those open spots.
It's second down, 2 yards to go. The give is to Jed Tommy, and the fullback just powers his way down to the 35-yard line. And what's good about this drive is the fans are becoming involved. They know there's a lot of time left in the ball game. 9 minutes, 15 seconds left to play. The Ticats look like they've got something going with a first down at the BC 36-yard line. Lions 33, Ticats 21. Hamilton desperately needs to put this in the end zone. Kerrigan fires. The catch is made by Steve Jackson to the 31-yard line. A pickup of 5. Keith Gooch forces him out of bounds.
Boy, you could hear that pop all the way up here in the booth. Keith Gooch, not nearly as big as Steve Jackson, but he really unloaded when Jackson caught the football.
Well, Gooch is 5'10", 170 pounds from Fresno State, and he does hit him a whack. Ooh, Jackson is well over 6 feet. He's about 6'3".
Well, that's what they teach. Accelerate through that tackle, and that's what Keith Gooch did.
Kerrigan puts this one up, and Darnell Clash makes the over-the-head interception in the end zone on a great play. The receiver broke it up. There was tremendous pressure on quarterback Mike Kerrigan.
Well, you can see the reaction of Al Bruno. He's not too happy. Just when the team started to get some momentum, Kerrigan's hit just as he throws the football. I think it took the trajectory to the outside, and Darnell Clash makes a heck of a catch.
So it's BC 33, Hamilton 21, and we'll be back in just a moment. Here.
Well, Pat, as you can see, I'm resplendent in my golfing pink, and I'm here, of course, to add to the coverage for CTV on the DeMaurier Classic tomorrow and Sunday. It'll be on from 4 to 6 Eastern Standard Time. We hope you'll tune in. All the best lady pros from throughout the world.
Well, they tell me they shot the lights out up at Woodbridge today.
There was a 64 out there today.
How come you get all the tough jobs?
Yeah.
You know, what is it from you guys from
longevity?
Have a great time at the tournament.
Always good to see Frank Rigney, and it's nice to see Keyvan Jenkins run the ball, but Les Brown didn't let him go too far. Matter of fact, he hopped on his back and rode him out at the 30-yard line, which limits his gain to 5. 8 minutes and 10 seconds left to play in the fourth quarter. BC would like to pick up some first downs. Just keep that old clock running. They lead it by 12. Cowan's pass is caught by Sandusky.
Oh, that's a great throw. You know, Jim Sandusky had not even made his final break, but Jim Cowan saw the hole that he would have to put the football into, that area, not necessarily right to Jim Sandusky, but in the hole between Streeter and Fields, and what a great throw he made.
We're going to have a tough time here tonight on picking our Carling offensive and defensive game stars, because there have been some good performances, but I'm trying to think of those that stood out, and it's tough. There are a lot of guys have to be in contention tonight. Cowan's pass over the middle intended for John Pankratz was behind him. Leo Ezrin's put a little bit of pressure on Tim Cowan on that occasion.
What a great size for a blitzing linebacker. 6'4", 242 pounds. Leo Ezrin, a 9-year pro from Whitworth College.
As a result of the incompletion, it's 2nd and 10 with the ball at the BC 42-yard line. Sandusky simply couldn't hang on to that pass. It was a little high. It was over his head. Mind you, it did hit him in the hands, and he's going to catch most of those.
Oh, he should have had that one. Yeah, he knows it, too. He's not too happy.
Did you ever drop any, Lee?
Couple.
All right, let's see what Paul Bennett and the Hamilton Ticats can do, because time now becomes their greatest enemy. 6:40 and the clock is running as Louis Pistaglia drops back to punt. And it's a good one. It's high, it's deep, and it forces Bennett back to his 20. The reverse to Wayne Lee. But BC just isn't fooled by anything tonight. They could not move out number 12, and that is Bruce Barnett.
Well, part of their strategy punting the football, too, is for Louis to kick it towards the sidelines, and what that does is cut the field down, and the guys coming down in their coverage lanes don't have that much field to cover, so consequently when Wayne Lee did get it, no problem making the play on him.
Well, I know Donnie Matthews has a high voice, but it never sounded that high to me before. It sounded like Daffy Duck there. It's first down, 10 to go, Hamilton. Kerrigan's pass. It is caught by Tony Champion, and he picks up 5 yards.
Where was that play in the first quarter?
Yeah.
Mike Kerrigan, over 4,000 yards passing in his college career, and when you think of U.S. college football, you know, you think so much run-oriented, that 4,000 yards is a heck of a statistic to finish with.
And I'll tell you, playing at Northwestern in the Big Ten, and they had terrible football teams, Northwestern did. I mean, he must have been some kind of college quarterback. He coughed up the football on that occasion. However, the Ticats did recover it back at the 20.
Jet Tommy, number 35, got on the football, but number 77, Michael Gray, comes with the pressure. Kerrigan coughs up the football.
Well, with 5:45 left in the ball game, right now, all the BC Lions have to make sure they don't make any mistakes, and they've got themselves their fourth win of the season against only one defeat. You know, it's funny, you can talk to football people and they say, the Lions can be beaten. Except every time I see them play, they win. Darnell Class from his own 50. And he's to the Hamilton 52-yard line. Well, we're going to catch a plane at 9:50, and we're going to hustle right out to Regina to watch the Toronto Argonauts and the Saskatchewan Roughriders tomorrow night on the full CTV network, 9 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. I guarantee you that's going to be a great football game. Both those teams have something to prove. Both desperately need that third victory of the season.
I read today in the Toronto paper, one of the Toronto papers, that Bernard Quarles may start at quarterback tomorrow night for Saskatchewan.
Well, I know that Joe Pow isn't, but I didn't think it was Quarles.
Well,
Yeah.
This
Well,
was an
we'll see
article
tomorrow.
that I read, so ball is loose.
The Lions have recovered it back at the 50-yard line.
Glenn Leonard, number 54, very alert to get back and pick up that loose football.
Leo Ezrin stripped the ball carrier, Keevan Jenkins. There you see him, 72. The ball comes loose, but unfortunately for Hamilton, they could not recover. The Lions did.
Boy, Glenn Leonard really did a good job picking up that loose ball. I believe that's Keevan Jenkins that's down in some kind of pain.
You know, you know that there are going to be injuries in football, and you hate to see anybody pick up a serious one, but when you got exciting people like Keevan Jenkins, Darnell Flash, those are the guys you hope never get hurt because they provide so much entertainment. But it appears that Keevan is all right. He's up and walking off under his own steam. I can't impress enough upon the viewers tonight how hot it is here in Hamilton. The temperature today was about 30 degrees, and the humidity had to be 100%. It's second down and 17 yards to go. On the draw play, this is John Henry White. And John Henry fights his way back into Hamilton territory, gets to the 53-yard line, which will bring Louis Passaglia and the punting unit out onto the field for the Lions. Our director, Tommy Hastings, is showing you just how hot it really is. Even that toy tiger is trying to get something to drink. And the rains have come, and that's why the fans are cheering. Probably not as loud as the players. This must be heaven sent to them. Ball bounces in front of Paul Bennett at the 18-yard line. And he tucks it away and gets over the 20 to about the 22. So with 3 minutes and 56 seconds left to play, the Ticats need a miracle comparable to the one that Montreal was able to drum up last night against Ottawa.
The faithful here are not too faithful right now when the rain starts. There is a mass exodus.
Oh, ye of little faith. What if the Ticats fire one right now for a touchdown? I wonder if they'll come back. Kerrigan fires it over the middle to Wayne Lee. And Lee has the first down over the 35 to the 36-yard line. He's brought down there by Larry Crawford.
Well, nothing fancy about this play. Just get a couple of steps upfield and work inside the defensive back. Come across the field. Nice throw by Mike Kerrigan.
First down, Hamilton at their 36. Oh, what a catch by Tony Champion. The moment he turned around, the ball was there. He had to be surprised to see it because the moment he turned around, he made the catch, and then Keith Gooch forced him out of bounds.
The timing was absolutely perfect on this play. Champion turns, the ball hits him right in the chest, and wow, could be a great finish.
And he picks up 20 yards. The BC Lions continue to lead at 33-21, but we'll be back in a moment.
Well, I've been told to give you a weather update. That's mostly because the people that get to work these telecasts indoors are all satis. Yes, it is raining here. I've got my brolly.
Kerrigan was trying to float that one up to Rocky DiPietro, but it goes incomplete. It's good to see DiPietro back on the field. He took that whack in the back from Nelson Martin, but he was able to return. Well, we've got a real good discussion going here as Donnie Matthews looks on from the sidelines. He feels fairly confident, I would think, at 2:56 left to play. Our discussion between Leaf and myself, it hasn't come to blows yet, is whether or not punt returns should be listed offensively or defensively. And we're trying to decide whether it's considered an offensive performance or a defensive one, as Rocky DiPietro picks up the first down as he steps out just inside the 45-yard line. Well, now they rule that, let's see where they spot the ball down. They rule that he didn't make the 45, and he had to get the first down. So they're going to put it down just inches short, and that'll bring up a third down for Hamilton. Obviously, they've got to gamble with 2:49 left in the game and trailing by 12 points. Kerrigan has done a good job since coming in there. He falls forward, and at 6'4", he's got lots of room for the first down.
The Rains keep coming here at Ivor Wynne Stadium with the Ticats trailing by 12 points. Close measurement to see if he picked up that first down. How about by an inch?
As the conversation continues about offense and defense, we've got Rigby involved in this now. I say it's a category unto itself. First down, Hamilton. Kerrigan was looking for Wayne Lee, but the pass was beyond him.
Is it just me, or does Kerrigan have a predilection to throw up the middle, which we did not see Hobart do all game long?
He's done a lot of things differently than Hobart. Second down and 10 yards to go for the Ticats with 2:29 left in the game. Kerrigan in a lot of trouble because Tyrone Cruz just would not let go, and he drops the Hamilton quarterback back at midfield.
Well, that's Big Ty's first sack of 1986 and comes at a big time. Ticats trying desperately with a little over 2 minutes remaining to get back into this football game, but with third down and a lot of yardage left to go, it's going to be tough.
It's going to be a lot tougher picking the offensive star of the game. Well, I'm going to let you win this, although this will never show up in an offensive statistic.
Well, I firmly believe, and of course we're having a debate about Darnell Clash and all those punt returns that give you such great field position offensively. To me, it's an offensive move.
Well, here's the defensive move by the BC Lions, and taking it all the way down is Andre Jones to the Hamilton 26-yard line.
Well, it's a play that really doesn't matter. Kerrigan had third and all kinds of yardage to go, so you've got to put it up in an area that can hopefully give you a first down. Andre Jones comes across and picks up his first interception of the year.
So it's academic now. The ball will be scrimmaged from the 25-yard line for the BC Lions with 1:57. This is John Henry White. And John Henry is nailed for a loss back at about the 27. But he was smart. He just wanted to make sure that he stayed in bounds. Mike Walker and Greg Gary were there to bring him down. The Carling O'Keefe Game Star selections may be Leif Pettersson's alone tonight. I may once again withdraw from the selection.
Good.
It's second down, 11 and a half yards to go.
The guys that deserve it will get the awards.
I'll never forget one time I didn't vote, and they selected a center for the Edmonton Eskimos who hadn't been in the game.
I remember that. Bob House got the award.
We're going to get... It's been a very hot, muggy evening, and the guys, understandably, are a little bit testy right now, particularly with the game out of reach. 33-21. Lions are going to win this one. with just 1:29 left to play. So it's third down. The Lions could care less, of course. They just want to eat as much time off the clock as possible. And Louis may as well try the field goal. It'll be spotted at the 32-yard line. John Pankratz to hold. This should be an easy one for Louis. It is good. And the Lions go out in front, 36-21, with 1:09 left to play in the ball game. So now let's just see what this does to the standings. It'll move the BC Lions into a tie for first place with the Edmonton Eskimos. But Jackie Parker's club is undefeated, the only one in all of Canada. They are 4-0. The Lions will be 4-1. The Hamilton Ticats will remain in a tie with the Montreal Alouettes, except that the Ticats will have played 5 games and the Alouettes only 4. They will be 1 victory apiece, but Hamilton will have 4 losses. Montreal will have 3. Toronto Argonauts actually have an opportunity of moving into sole possession of first place in the Eastern Conference when they play in Regina tomorrow night. With a victory, the Argos would have 3 wins in their 5 outings. That would be 1 more than Ottawa. On the other hand, the Saskatchewan Roughriders with a victory can move to 3-2 themselves and secure that 3rd and final playoff spot in the West at this moment. Kerrigan's pass is good to DiPietro. He just let him come across the middle, hit him for a pickup of about 7 or 8 yards before Nelson Martin was there to bring him down.
Well, it's a nice completion, but he's got to get it downfield. He's got to get it in the 15 to 20-yard range now. He's only got a little over a minute remaining, and he's got to force the issue a little more.
Yeah, those are nice for Mike Kerrigan's stats because BC drops off a lot in this situation. Although he threw the ball very well, and Tony Champion made a nice catch at the 52-yard line. 54 seconds left in the ball game.
Regardless of if Ticats are able to get back in this, which I know they can at this point, but Mike Kerrigan's, getting a chance to show his stuff, and with the dismal performance tonight at Ken Hobart, I think Al Bruno really has to seriously consider giving Mike Kerrigan a shot at the starting job.
Yeah, not only tonight, Ken Hobart really, with the exception of last week in Calgary, where he was the most effective that he's been all season, has not had a great year. Kerrigan's pass. Oh, nice catch by Tony Champion. That showed nice, soft hands. The ball was really drilled in there, and Champion made the catch.
Of course, it's the same old story. You get a guy coming in late in the game, and there's no pressure, and you can stand back, and you've got nothing to lose. So
it looks nice, though.
Yeah, sure. Looks great.
Well, Kerrigan's running around. He seems to be the only one on the move. And the whistle hadn't gone as Stapler makes the catch at the 23 and steps out.
Looked like everybody was dancing and somebody turned the music on.
Now, that is one of the strangest plays I've ever seen in my life.
It's going to count. Now, wait a sec.
Al Bruno says, I thought I had seen everything last week in Calgary.
Now they charge him with a motion penalty, Hamilton.
It looked like a fire drill there. Kerrigan has come in, thrown 15 passes in his limited stint, completed 10 of them for 107 yards.
Illegal forward pass. Hamilton number 2. 2nd down.
Why, was he over the line of scrimmage? He might have been. If that was the only penalty on that play,
it must have been.
Flag is down, probably a holding penalty. Oh, at least Kerrigan showed that he was alert. He tried to flip it underhand to Rocky DiPietro. But we'll see what the marker's about.
That's a tough matchup. Jed Tommy trying to block on number 40, James Quick Parker, and Donnie Matthews says, we'll take that 10 yards, push him back.
Here's the call. Well, the call is holding, I can tell you that.
There's Jet Tommy.
Was Jet
35, yeah. Lip reading.
Well, that's why you're the spy. At the 52-yard line on second down, 2nd and 20. This is Walter Bender. A good man, Walter. Keep the ball in bounds. Let's get this one over with. We'll be down to the final 30 seconds here in just a moment. 36-21 is the score at the moment in favor of the BC Lions, who jumped out in front early, 14-0, and the Ticats, although they made a fist of it, never could regain the lead. This one, intended for Wayne Lee, is over his head. So that was the third down play, and it means that it will be counted as a turnover against the Ticats as they turn the ball over to the BC Lions with 26 seconds left. I think it's really going to be a rock'em sock'em game in Regina tomorrow.
Boy, I hope so.
You know, when you play back-to-back games, you got to know some of the guys are a little angered with each other.
I used to hate back-to-back games because the coaches think you forget everything. You know, the game plans you have for one team.